might think you're in control of your emotions, but think again. The reality is that many of us are slaves to our feelings, reacting impulsively to every unfair situation, every slight, and every person who doesn't see things our way. But what if I told you that mastering your emotions could involve letting go of things we are taught to hold on to, like empathy, fairness, and even compassion? Growing up, I was constantly told that emotions should be expressed and that bottling them up was unhealthy. But I discovered the opposite to be true. The more I embraced emotional control and strategic detachment, the less anxious, angry, and frustrated I became. I realized that the emotions we cling to the most are often the very ones that hold us back. Learning to release these so-called essentials didn't make me cold. It made me unstoppable. Today I'm sharing some controversial Stoic techniques that challenge everything we've been told about emotions, from why empathy can sometimes work against you, to why closure is a luxury you don't need. If you're ready to take real control of your emotions and stop living at the mercy of your feelings, let's dive in. 1. View success and failure as temporary. We live in a world that constantly tells us success is everything, that it's the ultimate goal. Society glorifies achievements, promotions, accolades, and even social media likes, as though these are the true markers of our worth. But here's a hard truth. Success and failure are both temporary states. They're fleeting moments that can either make us feel incredible or devastated, but neither lasts. Grasping this can be jarring, especially if we've spent years chasing validation through our achievements or feeling defeated by our mistakes. But once you realize that these labels are temporary, it's liberating. I learned this firsthand. I remember one of my biggest professional wins. I had worked tirelessly, sacrificing time, energy, and even relationships. When I finally achieved it, there was an initial rush, a sense of fulfillment, almost like I had arrived. But the thrill didn't last. Within weeks, I was itching to chase the next thing, to prove myself all over again. What I thought would bring lasting satisfaction ended up feeling like a fleeting high, gone as quickly as it came. And failure? I've had my fair share. One experience stands out. I poured everything into a project I was sure would change my life. One that would open doors and give me the recognition I felt I deserved. But it flopped. The failure was humiliating, and I let it define me. For weeks I wore the word failure like a badge. But over time I realized the world had moved on, and so had I. That failure didn't matter to anyone else but me, and it certainly didn't define me. Here's the deeper message. Success and failure are illusions. They are just passing moments on our journey. When we attach our entire worth to one achievement or let one setback define us, we miss the point. Life is bigger than our highest highs and lowest lows. You're not a success just because you're winning today, and you're not a failure just because you lost today. True fulfillment comes when we stop labeling ourselves based on these temporary outcomes and start valuing the lessons they bring. 2. Stop making excuses for emotional outbursts. One of the most common ways we give up our power is by excusing emotional outbursts as just who we are. We say, "I'm just a passionate person," or "I have a short temper, I can't help it." But here's the truth. Emotional outbursts aren't signs of authenticity or passion. They're signs of a lack of control. Justifying these moments only reinforces the idea that it's okay to let our emotions rule us and spill over, affecting those around us. I remember a time when I'd let stress build up and spill over in small ways. I would snap at family members, overreact with friends, and then justify it by saying I was under a lot of pressure or that I just needed to let it out. I even believed that because I was being real, people should accept it. But I soon realized that these outbursts were damaging my relationships. My friends were avoiding me, and my family was walking on eggshells, never knowing when I'd snap. The breakthrough came when I stopped excusing my reactions and started addressing the root causes. I learned that real self-control isn't about bottling up emotions. It's about acknowledging them without letting them control you. It's about saying, yes, I'm feeling this, but I don't need to act on it right now. The deeper lesson here is that taking responsibility for our emotional reactions is a form of strength. It's not about suppressing our feelings, but learning to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. By ceasing to make excuses, we not only gain respect from others, but also from ourselves. We start to trust ourselves more, knowing that we're in control of our actions, even when emotions run high. 3. Assume people will disappoint you. This might sound uncomfortable, even cynical. Expect people to let you down. But this mindset isn't about mistrust. It's about protecting yourself from unrealistic expectations. We're taught to believe in loyalty, honesty, and mutual support. So when someone doesn't live up to those ideals, it feels like a personal betrayal. But the truth is, people are flawed. They have their own priorities, struggles, and limitations. If you accept that people will disappoint you at times, you're far less likely to feel crushed when it inevitably happens. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I trusted a close friend completely. They had been there for me during tough times, so when I faced another challenge, I just assumed they'd be there again. But they weren't. They had their own life and struggles, and when they couldn't support me the way I expected, I felt betrayed. I took it personally and thought, how could they do this to me? It hurt. But over time, I saw that the problem was partly my own expectations. I had assumed they would always put my needs first, which is a lot to expect from anyone. This experience taught me a vital lesson about emotional resilience. Accepting that people will fall short allows us to appreciate them for who they are, without expecting perfection. When we release the need for others to meet all our expectations, we're not lowering our standards. We're making peace with the fact that everyone is human, navigating life the best they can. 4. Prioritize inner peace over being right. Choosing inner peace over being right sounds simple but feels impossible in the heat of the moment. We've all been there, caught in an argument, determined to prove our point, even if it costs us peace of mind. It's a hard habit to break because we're taught that being right validates us. But if being right leaves us anxious, angry, or drained, is it really worth it? I once spent hours arguing with someone over a minor issue. We went back and forth, each convinced we were right. I remember the mix of frustration and determination. But when it was over, I felt exhausted, as though I had lost something bigger than the argument itself. The victory felt hollow. Since then, I've tried to ask myself in moments of conflict, is it worth disturbing my peace to prove I'm right? The answer is almost always no. Prioritizing inner peace over being right isn't about being passive or letting others walk all over you. It's about knowing when a battle isn't worth the toll it takes on your mind and emotions. Some disagreements can be let go, not because you don't care, but because you value your mental clarity more. This approach requires humility. It means being able to say, I know my truth, and I don't need anyone else to validate it for me. 5. Delay your reaction. When emotions flare, the natural response is to react immediately, to defend ourselves, lash out, or prove our point. But often that first reaction is driven by anger, hurt, or frustration. In the heat of the moment, we say or do things we regret. The practice of delaying your reaction, taking a breath, stepping back, letting the initial surge of emotion settle, can be transformative. It's like hitting a pause button in your mind, allowing you to choose a response instead of being controlled by an impulse. I learned this lesson the hard way. In the past, I'd respond immediately whenever I felt challenged. often leading to arguments and regret. But one day, I decided to stay quiet, take a few deep breaths, and let the other person finish. When I finally responded, I did so calmly, and the conversation didn't escalate. Delaying your reaction isn't about bottling up your emotions or pretending you don't care. It's about recognizing that your initial feelings may not reflect the best course of action. Taking a moment to pause gives you the clarity to respond thoughtfully, not react impulsively. 6. Find humor in the situation. When life throws challenges your way, it's easy to become consumed by frustration, anger, or self-pity. But there's an unexpected and powerful antidote to stress and negativity: humor. Finding a bit of lightheartedness in tough situations can shift your perspective and give you the strength to move forward. It doesn't mean making light of serious matters, but learning to see the absurdity in life's setbacks. Humor allows you to step outside yourself and see the situation with fresh eyes. I've had my share of disastrous days, but over time, I found that seeing the funny side made them much more bearable. When I ask myself, will this matter in 5 years?